Hello folks, this is Rusty Shang. It's been a while since I made any videos. Today's video is about reviving your old potato PC. Now, many of you have old potato PC that's lying around doing nothing. Instead of throwing this, you can use this machine as a light gaming machine or as a multimedia or streaming device. Maybe hook it up to your TV or something. Now, I have an old PC like that, which is a 13-year-old machine. It's got an AMD Sempron 145 CPU, which is a single core CPU clocked at 2.8 GHz. Yes, you heard that right. It's a single core processor with no multi-threading or nothing like that. 4 gigs of DDR3 RAM, 1 TB of hard drive, and NVIDIA 630A chipset with onboard graphics. This onboard graphics is very weak that can't even play YouTube videos at 720p 60 fps. So as you can imagine, this thing cannot even play older games that well. Now this machine was designed to run Windows 7, but it didn't run that very well. So this machine is pretty obsolete for modern operating systems like Windows 10 or Windows 11. I mean, forget about Windows 11 because my mainstream PC doesn't meet the minimum requirement to install Windows 11. Now this CPU has a hidden code that can be unlocked in supported motherboards. Fortunately, my motherboard does support this feature and I can unlock it from the BIOS. I can also overclock the CPU, but it's not gonna make any difference, so I'll just unlock the hidden core, which eventually makes this an AMD Athlon 2X2 4450 CPU, which is a 2-core 2-thread CPU. I also wanna dual boot the system, but that's for another video. Okay, so this is my old PC. It's got a pretty old CPU underneath, as I said before, and it didn't have any discrete GPU. But I have an NVIDIA GT1030 OC version lying around, so I thought I could just use this thing. And obviously GT1030 is pretty overkill for this PC. But since it's not doing anything else, why don't just make this something useful? So let's get right into it. Okay, we still need a few things. I bought these two for around 30 bucks. One is a USB Wi-Fi adapter. It's a QGW1400 dual band Wi-Fi adapter. What's great about this is it's got Linux support and our primary target is to install Linux in this machine. Now you can use almost any Wi-Fi adapter because Linux got a ton of drivers built into the kernel, but it's always a good idea to research before purchasing. The other one is an Acer 256 gigs 2.5-inch SATA SSD. The reason behind choosing this is that this piece is very old and the motherboard doesn't have any M.2 slots. So let's install this and we're good to go. I also made this mod. It's a power button that's been extended by attaching a thin electrical wire and mounted inside a small plastic box. This PC will go under the bed, so I needed a power button with long cable. I also bought two USB extension cables. One is for connecting a USB hub and place it to an accessible place, and the other is for connecting a webcam so that the TV can be used for video conferencing as well. Okay, now we're gonna install an OS on this machine. As I said before, we're gonna install Linux on this PC. And my choice of Linux is Linux Mint because it's pretty similar to Windows operating system, which is familiar to the most people. The installation process is pretty straightforward. First, go to a search engine and search for Linux Mint. The top result should be the official website. Go to the site and download the latest ISO file. At the time of recording, the latest version is Mint 22. Simply click on the download button. You'll see three versions. The Cinnamon is the standard one, the XFCE is the lightweight version, and the Mate or Mate is in between. I'm going to install the Cinnamon version. Just click on the download button. Now from here, you need to select your closest server to get the best speed. But you can select any of these. I'm gonna select Xeon BD because it's my closest server. Then we need another tool called Rufus. You can find it by using any search engine. This one right here. Just download the software. That's it. Now plug in a USB flash drive on the PC and open Rufus. Be very careful because every data on the flash drive will be destroyed in this process. So backup all important data beforehand. Now there is a top-down menu called boot selection. Click the select button and select the ISO file which is downloaded. Now this is the important part. You can see two options from partition scheme. One is MBR and one is GPT. If your Potato PC is very old and doesn't have UEFI support, then select MBR. But if that PC does have UEFI, then you can also select GPT. My Potato PC doesn't have UEFI, so I'm gonna select the MBR option. Now click Start, mark the recommended options and OK. Click OK. It may take a few minutes. Now we're gonna unplug the flash drive and plug it on the Potato PC on which we are gonna install the operating system. Make sure to select the flash drive as the boot device on the BIOS. If you don't know how to do that, I'm gonna make another video about it. You can also find plenty of tutorials on the YouTube. Okay, so since I don't have a capture card, I'm gonna show the installation process in a virtual machine, but it's all the same. Okay, after booting into this screen, there are multiple options. Just select the top one, Start Linux Mint. Okay, after booting into Linux, you'll see this screen. The Linux is not installed yet. It's a live version. Open this, install Linux Mint. Now select your language, then continue. I'm just going to leave it to default. You can also install multimedia codecs, which is highly recommended, but you need internet connection for that. You also can install it later, but I'm gonna mark this and continue. Now here's the important part. You can select the top options, but I would recommend selecting the second one. The first one will erase the whole disk and install Linux Mint, and the second one is for custom settings. Now you can see a window like this one. Select the SSD from top-down menu and click on New Partition Table. Continue. Click on the free space and click on this add icon. Now we're gonna make some partitions. First of all, make sure the partition type is primary. Use as. From this top-down menu, select Reserve BIOS boot area. Since my motherboard has BIOS. If your system has UEFI system, you can also select EFI system partition, but I'm gonna select this and give this about 8 megabytes. Okay, now select on the free space again and click on the add icon again. Then we're gonna assign a swap area. The swap area should be similar to your RAM size. I have 4 gigs of RAM, so I'm gonna assign 4 gigs. Then do the same thing again. Click on the free space, add use as, select ext4 journaling file system, and from mount point drop down menu select /boot and give it about 500 megabytes. I'm gonna assign 512 megabytes. Okay. Then do the same thing again. This time use as ext4 journaling file system. Leave it like that. And from mount point, select the top one. It's your root file directory and assign every space you have available. Okay. Now click on install now. It says no EFI system partition was found. This system will likely not be able to boot successfully and the installation process may fail. Select continue. Our machine doesn't have EFI system anyway. But if it fails to boot next time you power on your PC, then you can assign a EFI partition area. Now select continue. Continue. Now click next, next, next. Your name, your password, your username, everything like that. Continue. It will take some time. Okay, now we can restart the machine. Now simply remove the USB drive and press enter. Okay, that's it. Linux Mint is now installed. Now since we're using an NVIDIA card, we're gonna need to download the drivers for it. To do that, we have to go to the driver manager. We're gonna launch it, and this is a virtual machine, but in the main machine you'll see an NVIDIA driver download options. Just select the recommended one and install. Now that's about it. Linux is installed. Okay, so what can we do in this Linux machine? Linux Mint is pretty minimalistic operating system that can run well in older machines, but it has a modern feel to it. We can do most of the basic stuffs as Windows. We can browse the web, play media files, read ebooks, download popular apps like Spotify, YouTube, Telegram, install widgets and more. Let me show you. This is the menu and this is the software manager where you can browse and download apps. Then this is the Firefox browser where you can browse the web. You can also download other browsers. This is the file manager where you can access all your files. This is the widget menu called Disklets. You can call it widget if you like. You can add these pre-installed widgets. You can also download third-party widgets from here. And this is the terminal, the godfather in the system. We can also do much more interesting things in Linux, like customizing the UI in extreme level, run Windows apps and games, control the PC with the gamepad, but that's for another video. However, I'll now give you a preview to give you an idea. If you like this video, make sure to give a thumbs up and leave a comment below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to get more cheap ideas like this one. See you in another video.